Boom! Hi, everybody. I am live. I am at my mom's house. I have no makeup on whatsoever. And people are constantly messaging. So if you hear, it's because I am on Discord and the marathon is finishing today for Operation Nina. So people are like messaging and crazy things are happening. But I wanted to hop on and give you guys an update on week 5 because week 5 has been crazy. So I want to talk to you about lots of things, and apparently somebody wants to talk to me about something, so that will be a thing at some point. So I'm talking to you guys about this now. So I'm going to focus on this because I can't be in 5 places at once talking to 5 different people about 5 different things because I've been doing that all afternoon. And it's time for me to focus on just this and just whoever happens to come into this or see this later, or if this, when this goes on YouTube, this will be up on YouTube. So I will be reflecting back on this. But anyway, right now it's just you and I. So you and I and my mom's couch and this sign that we made for Knockers. If you didn't know, that's Knockers' real name up there. So anyway, fun facts you didn't know. This was a Christmas present the Christmas before last. We had this sign made for him. Trivia. Okay, anyway. So let's start with the beginning of the week and kind of recap, and then I'll give you the updates at the end. So the beginning of the week was my birthday, and my birthday was very nice, and we had presents, and we had dinner, and it was, kind of the beginning of the week, and the beginning of the week is like rough, but you're still feeling like even though you're rough, it's not so rough, you know what I mean? Like it's rough, but it's still the beginning. So you're like kind of hopeful and you're trying to be optimistic and you're like, let's do this. And you're hopeful and you're trying to be pumped, right? So then we went into Tuesday, and as we're going along, we had some instances with some cab drivers this week. So here's the thing about the cab company that we use. The cab company that we use is a really good cab company. We like them a lot. Why do we like them? We like them because they use only minivans. And what's great about that? Well, when you have minivans, right, minivans are really spacious, so there's a lot of room. So when you're a bigger person like us, you have a lot of feet room. And even if you're a tall person, you have a lot of like feet room, leg room, whatever. And the seats are really comfortable. And when you're a bigger person, you appreciate that because there's a lot of like width. And there's a lot of places for you to sit, and we like that. And we always ask that mom sit in the front seat because that is easier for her to get in, and there's usually like a handle to help her get in. And it's actually really comfortable for her. And usually the drivers don't have a problem with this request because usually, they have the kind of like the customer's always right and like you're paying for it and they're very chill about it. And we like this company because they're like that, because they're very accommodating to the customer. And usually we don't have to wait that long. And like I said, there's this girl in the morning who, as a dispatcher, is very kind and courteous, and every single time there's a text saying that they're on their way. There's a text saying that the cab has arrived at our location, and usually the cab drivers are there like as soon as humanly possible, and we don't have to wait a long time. And even if we're waiting like a little while, there's like a reason, like they couldn't get somebody there faster. Our only kind of complaints are sometimes sometimes they have guys who are like retired who want to go back to work, and that's great, and we support that, but sometimes they're just not equipped to help with the wheelchair. And you would think that if you're going to send somebody to a job where you know that a wheelchair is part of it and having to lift a wheelchair into the back is going to be part of it, you wouldn't send somebody who's weaker to do it. And sometimes they do. So I would say that that's probably my only complaint, is that a couple of times they've sent somebody who's just too weak to deal with it, And in the beginning of the week, we had an instance of somebody who just didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to deal with us, and ended up driving not very well, drove on the wrong side of the road, almost got us into several accidents. It was just not very pleasant, and we ended up requesting that we not have that particular cab driver again. And they were very accommodating and actually put in our file that we're not to have that particular cab driver. And I really respect the fact that they will do that, because they know that we bring them a lot of service and that we find them reliable. And I will say, if you're ever in Madison, Wisconsin, please deal with Madison Taxi, because they are a really great company and they are very accommodating and they are very good. And for the most part, they have fantastic drivers who are very kind and courteous and respectful and will assist you if you need assistance. And if you don't need assistance, obviously, they, you know, you don't need assistance. So anyway, then we did have another instance with a cab driver who, again, I mentioned this in another live, but we're recapping the week, so I'm going to mention it again. That cab driver, again, he was driving on the wrong side of the road, in the wrong lane, wrong side of the road. I guess he thought that we were in Great Britain or something, and he was on the wrong side of the road. We almost got into an accident. He almost rear-ended a BMW in the middle of traffic in Madison, Wisconsin. It was very frightening for my mother because she had just gone through radiation treatment. She had IV fluids that day. She, her poor arm had to go through blood draws, IV fluids that day. She had to go through radiation treatment. She was very sore. She was very fatigued. She hadn't slept well the night before. She had a lot of stomach distress. So she was going through a very weakened state, and she didn't even know if she could get in the cab. And so here I am feeling really helpless, saying, should we try a different angle? What can we do to help you get in this cab? And the guy's standing there like this, scowling at us, not trying to assist us to get in the vehicle, not asking if there was anything he could do, scowling as if we were an inconvenience. At one point, he even said yes, that we were an inconvenience to him. It was very disappointing to us. He was upset that he had to move his things so that she could sit in the front. He was speeding through the streets. He did not use his turn signals once. He was just doing all sorts of things that just did not seem appropriate whatsoever. When we got to the hotel, he opened up the back of the car, and I thought that he was going to assist me with getting the wheelchair out. He did not. Instead, he retrieved his things. Before Mom was even out of the seat, he threw his things at the seat so that they could be back on the seat where they were, and actually hit her before she could vacate the seat, just so his things could be on the seat again, which infuriated me, because you don't throw things at people in general, let alone a cancer patient who's very weak, who's in your cab. And so I was so infuriated that it was more important to him for him to put his crap back in the cab instead of helping me to assist her in getting back into her chair, that I literally cussed and said, fuck it, and grabbed the chair myself, took it out of the cab, which normally I'm very reluctant to do because I don't want to damage the cab. I don't want to somehow injure myself in doing that, etc. But at this point, I just knew that he wanted to be done with us. We wanted to be done with, him. I picked it up very gingerly, made sure that the chair did not touch the cab in any way, got it out, put it on the ground, unfurled it, and got it so that she could sit down, and then wheeled her in. And before I could even turn around, he flung the card at me because he was upset that I didn't give him a tip, which I'm sorry. If you behave this way, I don't think you deserve a tip. And then he got back in his car and drove off. And I mean, we were barely above the curb to the hotel before he drove off. It was a horrible thing. And then my mother, who had gone through all of those horrible things that day, was sobbing from the moment that like his pipe, like with the, the smoke and the exhaust, was like still in our, like we were still inhaling the exhaust. She's sobbing all the way up to our room, sobbing in her room, thinking that perhaps, she'd done something wrong, or she'd done something to offend this person, or she'd done something to deserve this, which of course she had not. And it was just a terrible experience. So immediately I pulled out my cell phone. And of course I have them on speed dial because we deal with them twice a day when we're during her treatment. And so I called them and I said, "Hi, we literally just got in. I don't know his name or his number because he was not friendly. I didn't get the number on the back of the cab because I was so distressed. But whomever you just sent to pick us up, can we please never have him again? And this is what happened." And the person who was dispatching at the time said he was taking notes and said that he would put it in our file. And so when I get to talking about today, we'll talk a little bit more about this because it becomes pertinent again. So we had some bad apples this week in terms of cab drivers, but I want to tell you that we had the horrible experience with cab drivers, but I want to tell you about the beautiful experiences we had with cab drivers this week, because those experiences may make you say, why do I love this cab company so much? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we met a cab driver named Neil. Neil is personable and friendly and smiling and kind. And he lifts the wheelchair that's heavy and gave me such a bruise on my arm here that my arm hurts so badly from having to deal with it, like it's nothing. And he acts like it's nothing, and he treats us like we're princesses and helps us in and out of the cab and talks to us like we're friends and family and is so kind to us and makes us feel like we didn't just come from the hospital and we're not going back to the hotel, and it's not this awkward, uncomfortable thing. And it makes the cab ride not seem daunting and exhausting. There's Shannon, who is this wonderful lady who we had a bad morning with a cab driver who was really difficult that we never wanted to have ever again. And for a lot of people, that would be enough to never want to use this cab company again. And she went above and beyond, getting the wheelchair in and out of the cab, helping Mom straight to the door of the hotel. I mean, she was willing to take Mom completely inside the hotel if we wanted. She was willing to make Mom smile on a day when she was about to cry because the treatment was just that exhausting and that upsetting, and just, it was so emotional. She was just so sweet and so kind. And when we gave her a tip because she had genuinely earned it, she was like surprised that we had done it, because to her, she was just doing what any other human being would have done for another human being. That's what she would have wanted somebody to do for her had she been in our shoes, right? And so then there was, it's so hard to remember all their names. There's Frank, who's very, very sweet and kind, and he took us one morning. I believe it was morning, maybe it was afternoon he picked us up. I can't remember because the times blur, but he's just such a sweet gentleman, and he's nice and he's kind, and he takes us back and forth sometimes. And then today, we were taken by, I don't know if it was the owner outright or if it was just one of the owners or what the deal was, but it was someone with an actual affiliation with ownership of the cab company, and was so kind and said, if we ever had a problem, here's my card, give me a call. And was so happy when we tipped him, and was so sweet and so kind and courteous, and helped us with the chair, no problem, helped us with the bags, because this time we were going from the hospital to the hotel, and then the hotel to Mom's house. And we had these two heavy big bags because for the whole week we had been in Madison, and they were heavy, heavy bags filled with clothes and, you know, all sorts of things and toiletries and stuff. They were heavy, heavy bags, and I couldn't do them completely all by myself the whole way. And he was so kind to lift them and talk to us about a variety of things and not be offended by naughtiness and deal with whatever kind of conversation we had going on and just be delightful and courteous. And this is why we love this cab company, because there may be like one or two sour apples, but that doesn't mean that the whole tree is horrible. The whole tree is fantastic, and I recommend them 110%. And so if you are ever in Madison, please, Madison Taxi are the people to go to. I really recommend them. They are amazing. So I just want to say that. And they are not paying me to do this. This is just from the bottom of my heart. I love them. I depend on them. And I have a business card from another company. We took another company one day because the hospital suggested that we do it. And I'm sorry, they don't do it for me. I like the other company better. I like Madison Taxi better. I just like Madison Taxi better. I am going to endorse Madison Taxi. They're just my preference. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So that's that part of things. Also, I want to say we were put up at the Hilton at Monona Terrace. And I had issues and questions about billing because the first night was on us. And then after that, it was the American Cancer Society. And then we had some room service things, and like the room service was on me. And so I had some billing questions and concerns, and I was texting with them because they have like a texting service to like ask, how are you liking things? Do you need things? Do you need help? Etc. Let me tell you, I got to know some of the staff through that. And I had some like questions and concerns about billing. I had questions and concerns about checkout because today Mom had to have an IV drip. And I'll go more into that later when we get to today in general. And I'm going to go step by step over what happened today. But the point is, we didn't know how late we were going to be. And checkout was at a certain time. And I was very sure that we were going to miss checkout. And I was very concerned about what are those late fees going to be. And I had just said, you know, there's a chance that we're going to be late. So if we're going to incur fees, I kind of need to know what they're going to be just so I'm prepared. And they literally said, we will waive those fees up to 2 hours for you because we understand that you're going through a medical situation and we're not going to penalize you for that. And I felt that that was very understandable. That was very courteous of them. They were very, very understanding in terms of, hey, we'll have one of our bellmen help you go get your bags because you shouldn't have to lift them by yourself. We'll have them get the cart for you. Like, they were very, very understanding and very kind and caring. And a lot of people may say, well, that's just their job. But even if it's your job, you could be like that one cab driver who threw things at Mom. It was his job to behave well, but he didn't do it. There are people who are in the service industry who have attitudes and who throw things and who are unkind and uncourteous. So when people actually do their job and do their job well, I like to appreciate them and thank them. So I want to say that I really enjoyed my experience at the Hilton at Monona Terrace, and I really think that particularly Eric at the Hilton at Monona Terrace, he really worked with me. He answered my questions very efficiently and very nicely, and so if you're ever staying in Madison and you're looking for a hotel and it's in the winter time, I don't know what their rates are like during the height of vacation season, but I definitely know that the rates are reasonable this time of year. I don't know any other time of year what the rates are like, but right now the rates are very reasonable. And their room service, for us getting room service 2 nights in a row, it was less expensive to get room service than one night at Hotel Red. 2 nights in a row for Mom and I. was less expensive than one night at Hotel Red. That's with all of the fees and everything else. So, yeah, and that was at Hilton. So, and it tasted better, just putting it out there. So, I really recommend the Hilton at Monona Terrace. I think it was a very good hotel. Mom will still say her favorite was the Best Western from weeks 1 and 2. It's all personal preference. So, to be honest with you, it cost the same exact amount of money to stay at this time of year at the Hilton at Monona Terrace as it did at the Best Western. And if you're going on vacation, you would have a better view at the Hilton at Monona Terrace. Particularly if you were on the 12th floor like we were. We had a magnificent view of the water and different things. Mom really didn't look at that because she really didn't stray from her section of the room, but I took a peek out. I imagine in the spring and summer, and maybe even in the fall, it would look even better because the water wouldn't be iced over. But I do not know how much more the fees would be for the rooms during that season, since it is the busy season. The fees may go up more, but because of the views, it may be worth it to you. So if you save up for a trip to Madison, definitely check out the Hilton at Monona Terrace. And again, I am not being paid by any of these places to make these endorsements. And the Hotel Red, I think, is more for people who are willing to pay that amount of money for what it is. It's just Mom and I weren't impressed with them. So again, even though we weren't impressed with them, you might be. But so far out of the hotels that we have been kind of without our choice had to stay in, so far my preference would be the Hilton at Monona Terrace. Mom's would probably be, I think, unofficially, the Best Western. And both of us can agree that our least favorite was Hotel Red. So on to today. So today, we got up and we took a cab and we went and we met a new cab driver who loved football. So he talked about football literally the entire way to the hospital, which was interesting because Mom simply said, "Oh, you're a Packers fan," and that started a football conversation that lasted the entire way to the hospital. Which, hey, at least he was enthusiastic and he wasn't a jerk. So we were happy. And he was knowledgeable about football, so hey, have a passion. Be happy. Good for you. Meanwhile, I was texting Jared saying, hey, I have some spots that may be kind of cool for date night. So I'm thinking about date nights in the future. What do you think? Because this morning, that's where my head was at. I was thinking about date nights around Valentine's Day. That's where my head was at. So, hi. And no, for those of you wondering, it did not involve the 50 Shades of Grey movie. I know a lot of the ladies are thinking that's the thing they're going to do. And it's not that I'm against it either, just putting that out there. It's not that I'm against that movie. It's just there is something kind of cool in Madison that's very Madison related that I know my boyfriend has really wanted to do with me since before we even started dating. And I always told him, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And then when I moved to Madison, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know. I'm scared. And Now I'm kind of like, dude, why haven't we done this? And he's kind of like, really? You'll do it? I'm down. Let's do it. So, kind of shocked him this morning with that. So that was a thing. And then we got to the hospital and she had her treatment, and then she was supposed to see the doctor, but she ended up not seeing the doctor. Instead, she just had IV fluids. And the nurse kind of explained why, again, that she needed IV fluids. So basically the situation is this. Her kidney function has improved, but it hasn't improved like enough. So we don't know the exact numbers. So I can't give you the exact numbers. But let's just imagine it's like this. Her kidney function before, when they first started giving her fluids, was like down here. So let's say they came up to like here. This is where they should be, is what I'm getting from what they're saying. So they're encouraging her to continue to drink lots of fluids because it's working, right? So like the plan's working. Them giving her the IV fluids is working. Her drinking more water, it's working. What they don't want her to do is have sodas, is to have coffees, is to do things like that. My boyfriend's calling me. Hang on a second. Hey, dear. No, it hasn't. You're on a Facebook Live with me. Yeah, I was just telling them about how I'm planning some things that I want to do with you on date nights. Yeah, and how like there were lots of places that you had suggested that we go do, and I was feeling weird about it, and now I'm all like, we should do it. And you're like, seriously? Because I've been trying to get you to go to those places forever, and now you're down, and I'm like, totally down. All right, I love you. All right, bye. Back where I left off. So they want her to just push fluid. So the reason that she needs these fluids are twofold. The radiation itself is doing some damage and causing the dehydration. And the need for all the fluids. So we're combating that with her drinking a lot and with the IV fluids, and hopefully we can get her kidney levels to go back up, because if we don't, then that is going to start to upset other organs, and then she could go into having deeper kidney problems, and that can set off heart problems and lung problems and other nasty things, as well as making the kidney problem more of a problem. So we're working hard to combat that, and so far all of our efforts are working, just not working as much as we want them to work. So we're working really hard on that. And like Mom said, from her perspective, she didn't realize that she needed to be drinking that much, number one. And number two, it's super hard because like every time she, like we already said, right, it needs to be warm. Like this is really warm. This has been out, right? So everything she drinks needs to be warm, first of all. She's not going to have this because this would upset her tummy. But as an example, everything needs to be warm, first of all. And if it's even the least bit cold, it literally like hurts her tummy, upsets her tummy, and makes her just have to go potty. Even if it's water, it makes her have to go potty. It's just, it's awful. And then the second thing is, even like warm stuff can be upsetting. And so it's a struggle when you don't feel thirsty and you don't feel hungry to make yourself drink, right? Because you don't want to drink. You don't want to eat. You don't want to do that. And so it's like you want to do the right thing and you know that you need to, but it's so hard when you don't feel the urge and your tummy is upset and it doesn't feel good to have it go down. And so she's been struggling, but she's been such a champion ever since they said you need to drink more. She'll have like 2 to 3 bottles next to her and she'll just nurse her way through it. And like as she's watching a show or a live stream, because the marathon's been going on, she'll just drink and drink and drink. And I'm like, you're doing good. You're doing so good doing it. And she'll get through them. And it has been paying off. She has been having to go pee-pee more and stuff. But then it brings on a different set of problems because then the urgency to go pee-pee is there more. And then it's like a race to try to get to, go pee-pee in time. And then that's upsetting because you don't want to not make it in time. And all these kind of things that you didn't expect to have happen. And like she was explaining to the nurse today, she was saying, it's hard to talk about these things because, who wants to talk about being afraid that you're going to have a potty accident one way or the other, right? Who wants to be afraid of those things when you're going to the doctor or you're in the cab on the way to the hotel or you're in the hotel or you're in bed, or you know what I mean? Like nobody wants to talk about that or nobody wants to experience that because it's embarrassing and it's unpleasant and it's just no fun. And, like the nurse was saying, like, we're trained for that. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make it easier on your point, but just remember that we've all been there and had that for one reason or another, whether we've had a stomach virus or something. It may not have been cancer that made us go through that, but we've had some sort of something that made us have to experience something similar. And so maybe we can relate, and we're trained to help you and we want to help you. And, please don't forget that we're on your team. And if you communicate with us, we can help you, and there are things here that we have that can help you, in case an accident happens or that something happens. And, Mom got really upset and emotional about it because it's such an emotional thing that you're going through. Your body is so fatigued and, like her poor arm, like, she had to raise up her arm and they had to put in the IV today for more fluids. And her poor arm right here, the first day it's the same vein that they used all week long. The first day they took like right there. The second day they went up a little further, and the next day they went like right next to it, and then they went like right here. Like it's all been like the same area. And it's all bruised and sore. And so today when she did it, like you could just see Mom's face. It hurt. She was in so much pain and it was so bruised up. But she was such a trooper. She, even though it was so emotional and it hurt so much, she was such a trooper. She didn't yell at them. She didn't tell them to stop. She wasn't like throwing a fit. She just kind of said like, ow. And then she kept on, trucking. She let them do what they needed to do. And she listened to what the nurse had to say. And she even said like, I'm not trying to be difficult. It's just, it's really, really hard. And she listened to what the nurse had to say. And they had a conversation. And then before you knew it, she was done with the IV fluids. It was supposed to be an hour, but it ended up being a half hour because she needed to go through the fluids so much. She needed the IV so much. They are concerned that maybe she's going through the fluids fast. They're trying not to have her go through them too fast. But at the same time, they're trying not to totally slow roll it. So they kind of compromised with the half hour. The first day, it was like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. So this one was a half hour. I know that her doctor probably wasn't too happy with that because it was supposed to be an hour. They're worried that if it goes too fast, it's going to upset her organs and cause a problem. That's why they had the 2 hours the last time. When we go on Monday, they're making us stop at the lab first to recheck her kidney function. That's the first thing that we're doing. Then she's having her treatment. So that's going to be a really, really early morning. I'm suspecting that we're probably going to have to get there. The way that lab goes, I don't know. I might even have us go an hour early. I don't know. I haven't even figured that out. Yeah, I have to figure out what we're doing. I'm still figuring all that stuff out. But we're gonna go early to the lab, and they're probably gonna have us wait forever because that lab is not. They're not very efficient in terms of. They're always super backed up because there are two different labs. There's like the main lab. And then there's like the oncology lab, and I love the oncology lab because they're super efficient. I love them, and they're so friendly. But the main lab is always backed up, and the people that work there are so grouchy. And I know that like they're really busy and they have lots of patients and everything, but they're so grumpy. Like the oncology lab is busy too, but they're at least not so grumpy. And you would think if you're working in oncology, like cancer is not like a happy let's dance kind of department, but they have a better attitude. It's kind of crazy. But they're making us go to the main lab with the grouchy people. And they're always behind, and they're always crabby, and it's always like a madhouse. So we might go extra early just because of that, because it's always behind. So and then she's going to have her treatment. So what they're doing next week is they've changed the schedule on us again. So Monday is a pelvic beam again. Tuesday is her first internal brachytherapy one, which is the 8-hour internal, radiation treatment. Then Wednesday is her last external beam treatment ever. So I think because Wednesday is the last one, we might do something a little special for her therapists because they have been really great to us. I might see if we can arrange to do something a little special for them to thank them for their kindness and being so spectacular to us and all of that. So I'm going to see what we can do for that. Maybe collabo a little bit on that one. Just because we really do appreciate what they have done and how great they have been and how, some people undervalue nurses and radiation therapists and doctors who really care about their patients and go above and beyond. So many people talk about bad doctors and bad nurses and people who hurt people or make mistakes, or you know what I mean? People focus on the negative things or the bad things, but they don't focus on the good things. And I think that's so sad because there's so much good there. And I think that people need to celebrate the goodness more and the amazing thing more, because we have gotten so much good from this experience. And, even though this experience has been heartbreaking and tiring and exhausting, and like Mom has gone through so much, the people have been so kind to her. Like she always says to me, I wish I could do something for them, because even though this is so difficult on me and it's so difficult for them, they're so kind to me and they're so good to me, and they do so much for me. I wish I could do something for them. Like I wish I could bake them something, but I don't have the energy, or I wish I could do something kind for them. So I really think that we'll do something little, like maybe a card or like some balloons, or, just something little, just like a token of our thanks, to just tell them like, hey, we appreciate the fact that you have gone above and beyond to not only just do your job, but to make this experience for us a little bit easier, because it is difficult for the families and it is difficult for the patients, and we appreciate what you do. Because I don't think everybody does that, and I think it would be nice if people did do that and not just focus on the bad. I definitely think that would be a good thing. And then I talked to Mom's doctor because Mom was worried a little bit about some things. So she's going to be getting some cream to help out, because sometimes with the beam, your skin can get a little bit sensitive and sore. So she said that she can actually use Neosporin. So we didn't know that because she had given her Aquaphor, but Aquaphor is not really working. So she said that she can use Neosporin. So that was cool to know. And I think that's kind of where we are at right now. Next week we are going to be staying at a Hilton, but it is going to be a different Hilton. This Hilton is going to be called the Doubletree Hilton. It is actually closer to the hospital, so cab rides will be less expensive, because I do not think that they have, I don't know if they offer, I do not know if they have, I don't know if they have, I don't know if they have shuttle service. I don't think so, but I will check. Amenities and services. They have an ATM. That's something. They have elevators. They have Wi-Fi. Mom will love that. They have valet parking. Ooh, they have a ramp for wheelchairs. That's cool. They're a very handicap friendly thing, but I don't think they have a shuttle service though. So that stinks. Oh, wait, they might. Hang on. Oh, but it looks like a bus. Accessible transportation with advance notice. But what does that mean? I think it would mean that, Mom would have to, I think it would mean that, Mom would have to, be wheeled into the back of it. And I don't know what the fee would be. I don't think it would be like a free shuttle service. I think it would be attached to the hotel fee, if that makes sense. So I think it would end up being cheaper to do a cab. per day. But I would have to inquire about that, if that at all makes sense. I have to do some investigating tomorrow, basically, but we shall see. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on and give everybody a update on all the things, to let people know what's going on with Mom, with myself. I found out some super good news about me, but I think I'm going to hold that back for a live, maybe tomorrow, because I still have to work some things out with it and see what I can do with it. But I did find out some super good news, or potentially good news, today in regards to me. So that's exciting. And I will see you all tomorrow for another live. And the videos that are going to be up on the YouTube next week are going to be the lives from this past week and like this weekend. But unfortunately, they're not going to have cool thumbnails because I'm at Mom's and not at home. And so I don't have access to all my cool things. So they're really not going to have thumbnails until I get back home to my computer. So sorry about that. They're just going to kind of have like whatever thumbnails. So sorry about the lack of thumbnail next week. It will get fixed eventually, just not anytime soon. So that's why that's like that. All right, guys. See you next time, and give you more updates when I can. Bye.